But every week we do a Nansen and chill session where we look at Nansen's new features, we answer questions from you, and we drop the occasional alpha leak. And so I'm delighted to welcome back Justin Bram on the show this time. How are you doing, Justin?
Good. How are you? Although I'm a little envious, I'm not going to be office hours number 50 unless I have go back to back.
Yeah.
But yeah, where are you traveling to right now? I didn't know you were out of the country.
Yeah, I'm actually in the UK right now. I was at
Okay.
Digital Asset Summit in London this week,
Awesome.
which was great. I actually met some fans of yours there when I
Oh,
was
really?
chatting to people. Yeah, they were like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
that's super nice. Were they nice
you just
people? I usually meet the nicest people at these conferences. So.
yeah. No, they were super friendly, and they were big fans. They used you as like an example of a like high quality crypto YouTuber because there's
Oh, means a
as we
lot.
know, there's a lot of like sort of shilling stuff going on, like people with these like funny faces, like is this the next Cardano or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah,
your channel is obviously very different. So
I appreciate
it,
that.
it, it was cool to hear that. Do you want to give a quick intro for those of you who don't know you as well?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. First of all, it's an honor to be on. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Nansen. My name is Justin Bram. I've been in the crypto space for about a year and a half. I've been working in crypto since I bought my first ETH, basically. So I got onboarded by joining a DeFi company right when DeFi summer was going on. Um, about 8 months ago or so, realized there, like we were just discussing, there's really no good, reliable content out there that's not just shilling you something. And I realized like a lot of these DeFi apps, like the ecosystem, it was just very confusing. It was back then, and there was no one really explaining like what the hottest new DeFi applications really do, how they work, etc., and then bringing a more analytical approach to it. So I decided to create a YouTube channel about 8 or so months ago, build out a Discord community, which is growing and doing pretty well. And yeah, it's been great since. I've been able to meet amazing people and do some great live streams. So yeah, appreciate it.
That's cool. So actually, I was going to ask you, like, what's your background? Is it like engineering or like
No, I
business
wish.
analyst or
So
yeah?
I went to undergrad at Boston University and studied film and television there. So,
Oh, cool.
um, yeah, I moved to LA after I graduated, started working on the TV show Family Guy. It's like an animated US based
Yeah, of
adult
course.
cartoon show. Yeah.
Super,
Um,
super
so,
famous. Wait, what were you doing with family again?
so I was like assisting the directors. So the directors are in this case are the artists, and I was just helping them. And all of the animation, like the hardcore animation, gets done in South Korea. So there's a lot of coordination between the LA teams and South Korea. Um,
That's fascinating.
yeah,
I had no
but I
idea.
realized like I wanted to do something more strategic, so I decided to get my MBA from the University of Southern California. Studied like strategy there, worked at Paramount Pictures in strategy and BD, and then Snapchat, where I met
Hmm.
someone who brought me into the crypto space that was raising money to start a business. So
That's really interesting. That's a
yeah,
really unique background, I think, and it makes sense. Like, if you're trying to do something media related in crypto, it makes sense to have all that experience with it, right?
yeah, it's funny. I spent 4 years going to film school, and now like I'm editing YouTube videos and doing my own thing. So it's a good time.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So, we're getting a lot of GMs in the chat. Also, people saying that's so cool, and now someone saying that Family Guy predicted the future.
I
Okay.
thought that was The Simpsons, right? The Simpsons always said like predicted Bitcoin prices and Trump being president or something like that. But maybe
Yeah,
I'm missing it. I haven't watched
yeah,
it in a while.
that's really really cool. But you're also a pretty savvy Nansen user. So should we just go ahead and have you share your screen, and we can perhaps show people how to use Nansen, and maybe we'll discover something interesting.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'll just hit share. I'll share the whole screen here. Um,
There we go. Add
all
to
right. So it
stream.
should be on NFT Paradise now. Just
Yeah.
let me know
If
when
maybe
that's up.
Yeah, I can see it here, and maybe people can let us know in the chat if the resolution is not good enough. I think it looks pretty good on my end at least, but
Okay.
feel free to drop in the chat if you guys need us to up the font size or anything like that. But it looks
Oh
good on
yeah, I
my end,
can.
so we
Okay.
can just go ahead for now. Yeah.
So the first thing I just wanted to talk about is how on our last stream, and I think it wasn't even too long ago, maybe a month or 5 weeks or something like that, how everything has really changed. People have proclaimed NFTs are dead since then. The market has definitely cooled down, and it just goes to show how cyclical crypto is. about, I mean, DeFi summer, everything was about DeFi. Then we went to NFTs, then different layer ones. Now we're back to DeFi 2.0, and it seems like there's a resurgence of the layer one. So it's crazy how quickly things change, and it's easy to get caught up in the noise of everything. But yeah, it's been astonishing to see, like, if you just look at the volumes here on the Nansen Bluechip Index over the last 3 months, like you can see when we peaked in late August here, the volume was like 90,000 ETH it peaked at, and it's 10% of that now, which is crazy, right?
Mm.
So hopefully, if you're holding NFTs, you're holding the best and most blue chip pieces.
Yeah. At the same time, you can also see there was a pretty like an extended period where there was even less volume, and it seems to have been picking up a little bit in the last few days. Right?
Yeah. But it is interesting to know, right? Like the market cap of the blue chip index, and again, these are the best pieces, or what the market values as the best pieces. But it is interesting to see, like, the market cap has been pretty stagnant. That said, if you're denominating the value of your EF or NFT portfolio in ETH or BTC, you're going to be down relative to BTC or ETH, just because BTC and ETH have gone up so much. Although I do see this as the market cap in ETH, so probably that's not actually true. Then correct me.
Yeah, but I mean, it is still quite surprising how the market cap has stayed so stable, like for the blue chip index, which is maybe that just goes to show that the blue chip NFT collections are more resilient even when the market cools down, right? Like many of the people will just keep holding on to them because they perceive them as having very high value.
Yeah, and I think there are so many people holding punks, let's just say, that the price is irrelevant to them, right? Like they were early into crypto. They're happy to hold their crypto punks for 5 or 10 years, and they have like an emotional attachment to it where they wouldn't have that with just some regular ERC20. Like they really feel an attachment here. One other thing that's interesting is, like, look how delayed so the volume peaked August 28th, and then we have the market cap peaking about 2 weeks later, which is interesting. Interesting that the volume cooled off, but the market cap was still going up and had a crazy peak then. I'm curious what happened on September 11th, 2021 to cause that peak. But that is probably a conversation for another day. So before we sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, the slight resurgence in volume lately, I think that's caused by Bored Apes, because there's been a bit of traction there. I don't know if you want to dive into that yet, or if there's something else you wanted to go into first.
Yeah, I'm happy to cover that. I was about to start going on about that little bit of alpha you gave me before we went live that we should tell everybody. But yeah, let's look into Bored Ape Yacht Club. I believe so. Jimmy Fallon purchased a Bored Ape and tweeted about it, and so we have his address, right? Is that still accurate?
I'm not sure we have his address. I pinged the guys in the background to see if we can have it, but like his actual NFT is on the Twitter. On his Twitter profile. And so that means it should be possible for people to find out what his address is, assuming he's like holding it himself. Guessing maybe someone in his team or something like that controls it, but nonetheless, the address that holds that NFT. So
do we want to go down that rabbit hole? I'm happy to go down the Twitter rabbit hole and back into the address, or we can also just go through Bored Ape Yacht Club at a high level.
I actually don't. I mean, I'm kind of interested if you have a quick way to, like, if you see someone's Twitter account and you see they own a specific piece, what would be your process, if you have any, to kind of find out what their address is? Would you just look at the traits and OpenSea, or go for it?
I was hoping he would say which Bored Ape Yacht Club he has. Maybe someone has replied with the number here.
Yeah, that's probably the fastest way to do it, right? We could maybe also look just at the traits, right? So if we went to OpenSea and try to filter it down, that would maybe be the other way to do it.
Good idea. Hopefully I'm on my public address.
because then we could also plug in that address, if we find it, into Nansen and see if they hold anything else. I would imagine people have started sending him like spam NFT
probably, yeah.
So tokens, this is probably already.
Like a boat cap. All right, heart sunglasses, that should be the easiest. Eyes, heart,
there we go. That's 394. Narrowing it down,
we're getting there
a bit.
All right, we've got
Yeah.
The captain, the boat captain's hat, maybe?
That's a good one as well.
Seaman's hat, that's going to be it.
Seaman's hat.
So now we're down to 16. And
Okay.
it's a
It's
light
a striped shirt,
background,
right?
Yeah.
I think it's that. Isn't it that one? The one with the 40? No, the one in the sort of middle on the second row. Or is it the pink fur one?
I think it has a blue background.
Oh
here.
yeah. Oh, my bad. It has a blue background.
All right, so like a yellowish ape color with black and white stripes. A yellowish.
It's not here.
I don't have
maybe
a filter, right?
Do we have a filter on by
No.
now we don't. That's curious. We should see it. Is it fake? Maybe he faked his ape.
Unlikely, right? Huh.
What if we put striped shirt?
So like get rid of one of these, or
I think we should be able to just add clothes and then striped tee. Yeah, that's curious. That's very curious. What are we doing
all
here?
items,
Maybe
no.
I feel like we're missing something here, and we're just
we most
showing
certainly are, and everyone in the comments is probably telling us what we're missing.
Oh, someone is telling us it's 599, so maybe we can skip this and just go straight to. Oh, I got the wrong hat. It's the wrong hat. We're such
subtle
noobs.
Differences of Bored Ape Yacht Club hats.
Thank you comments, sir. Yeah, you're right. Everyone's like shouting in the comment section, and we're just being noobs.
It looks the same to me, but maybe that's my untrained eye.
The other one's like a sailor thing. Everyone is like wrong hat, guys.
Sorry, everyone.
Okay. 599. We have it, so we can actually grab this address, and then I'm sure they have a lot of William Marion.
A lot of junk, yeah.
A lot of junk here. Should we plug it into Nansen? I mean, like wallet profiler. I'm curious to.
Let's do it.
So maybe for those of you who are new to Nansen and haven't used it before, what we are trying to do here is just to grab the address of this NFT and then plug it into the wallet profiler so we can see if they have been doing anything else that's interesting. And it looks like there's no tag for this wallet yet. I think the team should be on this so that we can get that label very soon. But if we look at counterparties or NFTs, there might be some interesting stuff we can find. I'm curious where they got their ETH, for example. Like, how did they fund the wallet to actually get the ape? You know, assuming they bought the ape, or maybe they just received it from another wallet. Yeah, it looks like they probably did.
Let's see.
So probably someone just sent them the ape, and maybe they did like an OTC trade or something like that. Not 100% sure.
Yeah, it's weird. No data available for incoming ETH. And let's see. So this address might not. They own no ETH. Yeah, so you're probably right there. Someone probably literally just sent it. It's probably a cold storage wallet too. It's never been used.
What if you click the NFTs tab? If we see something fun there. Yeah,
again,
they had one
just because you see something here, most of them are probably junk that got sent in. But yeah, it looks like, just based on the volume of these other NFTs. This is a really convenient feature, by the way. I hadn't seen this before. Yeah, it looks like Bored Ape Yacht Club is the only quote-unquote legitimate NFT collection there.
Yeah, you can see it's you have like an estimated value based on the collection that we have there, the median price, etc. And definitely the Bored Ape one is the majority of the value in this portfolio.
Yeah. But so going back to it, you were saying you picked up on a resurgence in Bored Ape Yacht Club volume. Was that right?
Yeah. If you just look at the last few days, which I think coincides nicely with him getting the Bored Ape. But you see here the volume has pumped. And the price as well has just steadily been going up, the average price at least. And yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so this average price was probably driven up by like a high sale that day. It's just an outlier, I would assume.
And exactly. I would probably scroll down to see the individual transactions there. Just there you go. That's the if you unclick that, then you can see that outlier one that drove up the average price, which was, I think, Pranksy buying it.
Yeah. Wow, you know what you're doing, that's for sure. Are you an ape holder?
Oh man, that's a very I feel very emotions
no
when you asked
more.
that question.
Say no more.
So I used to own 40 apes. I think I mentioned this a few times here.
Yep.
I minted 40 apes with 2 different addresses. So 20 of them was on my public address, and I sold them all like a pleb. And they would be worth, I think, close to $10 million at this point. So I missed out big time.
Oh,
unfortunately.
but you would still be working at Nansen and doing your thing. So
yeah,
same position,
that's true.
so don't be
That's
too
true.
worried about it.
Life-changing apes. Yeah, no, it was okay. I'll get over it. I'm not gonna say I've done worse things, but I also sold socks, from Uniswap at $60, which is pretty hilarious. I was like, who's gonna pay $60 for a pair of socks? And then they're worth like $150,000 or whatever these days.
Now the gas cost just to approve that sale would have been more than $60, which is kind of funny to think.
Yeah. These days, back in the day, it was not that expensive to trade on Ethereum.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so that's a digression. But
so
I think the Bored Apes are probably the main driver of growth on the Bluechip index.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things we could go. I don't know if there's I can't see the comments right now. So if people feel strongly about covering something, we're happy to do that. We did prepare just a couple things that we can pull up too. I know ConstitutionDAO. I'm sure folks have heard about this. Basically, it's a DAO to purchase one of the original copies of the Constitution that is getting auctioned off. One of the major auction players. I forget, was it Sotheby's or someone else. But in any case, I just wanted to pull up. I found the contract for Juicebox, which is basically the platform you would be sending your ETH to in exchange for these ConstitutionDAO governance tokens they give back. I think they're just called people tokens. And it was interesting to look at this incoming ETH. Now, I don't know if this Juicebox terminal has other people are bidding on other things here. My hunch is ConstitutionDAO is like the vast majority of all volume on the platform.
Yeah,
Shark DAO, but
yeah. By the way, this is like such a cool thing. I'm glad you brought it up. But I saw in the wallet profiler as well, there's some outgoing ETH, and so maybe that sort of gives an indication of how much is being forwarded into the ConstitutionDAO. Perhaps not 100% sure.
But if we were to click into ConstitutionDAO, unfortunately, all of the ETH in there would be coming from Juicebox, right? So we wouldn't.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is definitely the one to be looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious if CMS or Dragonfly or Stane, if anyone has made any public comments here about putting some funds in.
I did see a comment from CMS actually. I think they put 250 ETH in. So if we scroll down to top interacting wallets, we might be able to see them putting in that 250 ETH, the bottom table there. This one. If we sort by volume in Ether, I guess maybe you will see it. 280. It might be cut out because it has a limit of 1,000 addresses. And if that's the only transaction they made, it will be cut out, which is actually not a great feature of this table, because obviously you would want to see that transaction here. But the way it works is like, if you have more than 1,000, then it will effectively just prune out anything that's beyond 1,000. But yeah, so that's actually kind of not ideal, and something that I would suggest we take back as feedback on this specific table.
Every time I watch these, you're always giving updates to the product team. It cracks me up. Can we filter to like?
But it is like that's actually a lot of the value from these office hours section. To be honest, they're almost like user research sessions in the public. And this to me feels like if they put in 250 ETH here, we should be able to see it, right?
Yeah.
So the reason it's being pruned out is probably they just made one single address, which means it's been thrown out because there are others that have done more transactions that end up within the limit. But yeah, now 2 ETH. I'm not sure what this one is, but this is kind of interesting too.
Yeah, somewhat like medium large balance of ETH. Pretty active, it looks like. But probably just some anonymous person, some anonymous ETH OG.
So 280 ETH. That's a lot of money contributed. That's
Yeah,
what
that
is
is
that
pretty
these
crazy.
days?
And
It's like
before contributing, just know it's not a fractionalized constitution. It's literally you're just getting a governance token. So if you control the supply, you don't get the constitution. It's literally just a governance token. Just to clarify, there, I think they have that somewhere in their docs. But yeah,
yeah, this is super cool. Do you? I mean, you don't have to disclose if you don't want to, so you can say no comment. But is this project something that resonates with you? Would you want to contribute to
I
something
haven't
like?
contributed yet, but I will end up contributing. Probably today or something. I'll put a little bit of ETH in, but nothing crazy. This would be just like a fun little thing that maybe is kind of a gamble and pays out for you. But we're just kind of at the point in the cycle where everything's pumping pretty much. It's kind of scary. So we'll see what happens.
I do think that this is something that will make the news, which
It
is kind of
will.
good. Like,
Yes.
first of all, I do think that this is a cool thing. I mean, I'm one of the first Pleaser DAO members, so I sort of get uh, the appeal of wanting to pool together funds and buy some iconic stuff, and this feels like it's kind of in that category.
Mhm.
So I think it is a very cool thing on its own, but I think it's also good for crypto because it will probably make the news, especially if they win the auction. Do you know when the auction is supposed to conclude?
I think it's imminent. I mean, we can pull it up here, but I know there was like a rush to raise funds, and now they're going for stretch goals because I think they've raised, well, it looks like over $40 million. So I think we might win the Constitution.
That's
Yeah, they have
amazing.
an official link here, but I'm sure folks can research this on their own time. It's like pretty much all over crypto Twitter right now. So
In the chat, we're being told that it actually concludes today.
oh,
Not sure
okay,
which
so
time zone,
get your
but
ETH in now.
so yeah, you better ape right in after this video stream here,
Yes.
Justin.
But there is something else I have to ape into that you told me about before the stream. Is this something you heard about from Pleaser DAO? Like, can you share any alpha here? It is a collection called Corruptions. Maybe you can just give an overview while I pull up the OpenSea just to show people what this is, if that
Yeah,
works.
I don't know much about it, but happy to fully disclose that I did pick up one of these pieces this morning. But it was actually one of our scouts who spotted it in Nansen. And I guess the thing that makes it one thing that makes it interesting is that it was made by, I think, Dom.eth, the same creator as Loot. And so I think it was sort of stealth launched. And as you pointed out before we jumped on the show here, it actually was launched like a few days ago. So it's not something that is like, people have to FOMO in, right now. And of course, everything we say, is informational purposes only. We're not getting at any investment advice here. But I thought it was interesting that, the lineage here, or the creator, is obviously very notable. And the fact that it's kind of gone under the radar for most people is pretty
Yeah.
interesting as well.
Well,
And yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry. I was just going to say people have proclaimed the NFT market dead. It's almost like now's the time to find the right collection for you if you're interested. Can you talk a bit about, like, I guess the art you would say? Like, what's going on here? Just to be
I
candid.
think, I mean, it looks kind of like, I don't know how to pronounce it, even like ASCII art or like text-based art.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I mean, it seems kind of mysterious, and I guess this is the reveal, but many of you probably know Loot, where the concept was that, there was some configuration of attributes that should be used in a game that the community was expected to create. I don't know what's going on here, but I saw some interesting and somewhat mysterious tweets about this project. There was one from, I think, a Twitter account called just HTML.
Hmm.
Let me see. Let me see if I can find it here in the background. Um, and and it just says, I think it coincided with the launch date. The tweet just says, "Here's what we know: corruptions gain insight over time. Insight per day accelerates if the corruption is stabilized, left alone, and decelerates if the corruption is destabilized,
Oh, wow.
moved. The corruption renderer appears to be upgradable." So this was this was shared by a Twitter account called HTML, which follows 0 people, but it has
Wow.
1,720.
Mysterious.
So I found it kind of mysterious, and I don't know what's going on with it. But I don't know. I kind of like it felt a bit like cypherpunk esque. So I just bought one. Cool. I figured, why not? Yeah.
I'll have to look at that. Now I want to go to Nansen, but before we do that, I just want to show folks like why in crypto you really never need to FOMO into anything. Like you can pretty much always buy things for cheaper if you just wait a little bit. So loot obviously went to like, I think the floor was like 13 ETH or something like that. And now you can see the floor price is 2.95 ETH. It's just these things fade from the public conversation so quickly, the non-core projects, and it's obviously hard to predict what will become a core project like a Bored Ape Yacht Club. But like if you FOMO'd into loot, you're probably not feeling too great right now. And I think this is just, these things are such great case studies of like, there really is no need to rush into buying something. If you wait a little, you can always buy in cheaper. Even with ETH, BTC, like they always have pullbacks. You don't have to buy this moment. There's really, in crypto, like we feel rushed a lot, but I think you always get a second chance. So I'm personally looking at loot now at a 2.95 ETH price. Like that's just much more appealing to me. So
yeah, there's actually a book by Chris Berniski, who's at Placeholder VC. He wrote this book a long time ago, I think 2016 or maybe 17. It's called Crypto Assets. Okay. And in that book, he talks about the J curve of crypto projects, how they very often sort of peak, or they have a massive pump originally, and then the price, like as you kind of go out of the hype stage and you actually have to start building, which takes time, the price tends to sort of fall, and then you have this kind of almost like Nike logo, sort of path where it will hopefully one day slowly climb up and exceed the initial peak. And that's what I think actually happens quite often in crypto. If you look at historical prices. Yeah. And so you never know, right? Many projects will literally just fall on their face, right? So you never know what's going to happen. It could be the same with loot. It could be it goes to 0. Like no one really knows. But for the projects that actually eventually ship something of value, then the price sometimes has this kind of Nike logo / J curve path to it, which is interesting to see that you also see this phenomenon to some extent with NFT collections like Bored Ape. Like Bored Apes pumped, and then they actually went down a bit, and then since then they've just been going to the moon.
That's so, yeah, you've given me my weekend reading. That's a huge alpha leak. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's like, I feel like in hindsight, it was obvious for loot. I think we might have even spoken about it on the last streamer at some point, but I really do feel like with loot, it was somewhat clear just because like, okay, this is the new paradigm. It just launched. Like this is the base layer for crypto gaming, whatever it is in the future for NFTs and art in the future. But it's also like, what are people that hold loot going to do for the next year, 2 years, 3 years for all of this to be built? Like there really was just nothing available. And in crypto, the sentiment shifts so quickly that like if you're not constantly updating, this is going to happen. So in any case, that's my rant. Perhaps we should go back to the Corruptions NFT collection just to take a look at it, because it's the Nansen stream. By the way, have you shared yet where the Nansen name comes from?
Oh, I have on a few occasions. I'm not sure I've done it on office hours, but okay. And this is something I can talk about for hours, but I won't, of course, here. The brief explanation is that we named the company after a Norwegian polar explorer who's called Fridtjof Nansen. And the TLDR, he's a fascinating guide. I would recommend everyone to read about him on his Wikipedia page. But basically his first claim to fame was to cross Greenland on skis as the first person ever. And then he attempted to reach the North Pole as the first human ever. Led an expedition when he was about 26 years old with like 12 men on a ship. The idea was to encapsulate the ship in the ice and have the ice drift to the North Pole. They missed the North Pole. It took like literally years on the ship, and then they had to ski. He brought his best man with him, with a bunch of dogs, and they spent like a year on the ice alone, the two of them, close to a year, trying to ski to the North Pole. They made it as far north as anyone had ever made it, but they didn't actually reach the North Pole. But they did manage to come back alive, and that same ship was later used to reach the South Pole by his protege, another polar explorer.
Wow.
He narrowly beat another English polar explorer who sadly passed away on his trip. And yeah, so that's a long story. But the reason we use that name is, he was an explorer, and you guys who are watching the stream are also explorers in this new frontier, which is crypto. And so not as dramatic, perhaps, and not as dangerous, we hope, but nonetheless explorers and pioneers.
Very cool. I like that. Well, I'm glad you filled me in, because I've been wondering that, and I know Americans, we pronounce Nansen incorrectly by your standards, so I apologize if I've been saying it wrong.
That's totally fine. We have a permissionless pronunciation
I like that
policy. So, yeah, I pronounce it Nansen with this different type of A, but it's totally fine that you do the American one. That's good as well.
Cool. All right. I know people, I'm sorry if everyone is here purely for the alpha and not for the conversation. So we can get back to the data here. Apologies to everyone. But yeah, that was interesting. So yeah, again, I think you like when people come on and show how they use Nansen. So when I'm looking at a new collection for the first time, obviously, like, you're brought to the overview page and you can just kind of get a general sense of what's happening. Obviously, this is like going to be a very useful chart for you, seeing that the volume peaked like around launch. So there was, let's see, 453 ETH of volume. So quite a bit there. I'd say that's like, I don't know, $5 million. I don't know. My math's not too great, unfortunately, but quite a bit of volume. And you can see the price has been quite steady. I'm sure we'll go down and see an outlier there. Then maybe that was the 10 ETH sale I saw on OpenSea. But looks like it's been pretty stagnant. So yeah, to your point, not much hype around this collection. Volume has been, wow, actually quite low.
Extremely low.
Single-digit ETH low. Like, so one thing when you see this, you should immediately be thinking like, okay, I can buy this NFT, but you're pretty much not going to be able to sell it, at least not right now. Like, when the volume is 0.4 ETH, like 1 ETH, that means there might only be 1 to 3 buys a day. Like this day with 1.49 volume of ETH, that was like with the floor price of about 0.5, 0.3, 0.4, that's like 3 sales. So if you purchase this right now, just understand that you have to hold this for some period of time. You can't tomorrow be like, oh, unless there's some crazy hype cycle that happens tomorrow, you're probably not even going to be able to find a buyer unless you cut your price below the floor. So when people talk about NFTs being illiquid, this is like a perfect example here. You can buy your NFT, but you probably can't get out unless you undercut the floor, because there's only a few buys a day. So
yeah, absolutely. Do you want to scroll down a bit and we can see the individual transactions? Because
yeah,
there are a few notable buyers who are involved here, and maybe afterwards we can also look at the breakdown of like holders and so on. But do we see anything interesting here?
Yeah, so I'd be curious if you guys have looked into this, but you can see the notable buyers coming in, and then the price here goes up after. Like, do you have any intuition if that's people, it's like reflexive where people see that they're notable buyers and that causes, all of these other people to FOMO in? Or would you say the notable buyers are really just ahead of the curve and they see the trends before? Like, I think it's probably a mix of the two, but I'm curious if you've looked at the data, if it's just a reflexive cycle where people see like Pranksy buys something and everyone FOMOs in, or if they really are ahead of the curve. I'd be interesting to hear what your thoughts are there.
It's an excellent question. I think to some extent you can't really answer that question with the data alone, because it's kind of like a correlation is not causation type of thing, or does not imply causation. I like intuitively, I would imagine that some people are tracking these wallets, right? So, you might have a smart alert on, say, Mev Collector or Pranksy. And so if you see that, you might want to look at what they're buying, and then that sort of causes the price to go up. That could be one reason. But you could also say that these guys do have a track record of spotting stuff even before we were like tracking them very closely.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think you're right. There's probably a bit of both, but at this point, I do think there's some reflexivity, as you were saying, with alerts and wallet tracking going on.
Yeah, I'm curious. I know you. I don't know if this has been publicly announced, but do you give ranges of how many Nansen subscribers there are, or is that totally for internal use only?
No, we have about 4,000 Nansen subscribers at the
Okay,
moment. Yeah.
interesting. That's interesting. So I remember seeing a tweet just the other day that there were 21 million active MetaMask users, which is
Yeah.
crazy to think about, right?
So our TAM is a lot bigger, I suppose. Yeah, but Nansen users tend to be, I mean, and I don't mean to flatter them, but they are perhaps the more sophisticated users, right? People who are
You're
like
too
into
kind to us.
data. Yeah, no, but it's true, right? Like
It is,
people
yeah.
who are more, tend to be a bit more serious about the sort of investing and flipping and trading and whatnot. And so it's kind of hard to imagine all those 21 million MetaMask users becoming Nansen users, right? It's more like the elite, if I can say that, here.
4K is small though, because on your YouTube channel, you probably I forgot what it was last, but probably a few thousand subscribers on your YouTube channel, which is interesting. So a lot of people do want the insights, but like haven't taken the plunge trying. I mean, and it is costly
Yeah.
for like, so I totally understand that, but it's just interesting to hear the metrics that hearing that it's only 4,000, or I guess not only, I don't want to diminish everything you've accomplished, but
No, it's good.
Hearing 4,000 means that like if you are one of the, there's 4,000 users on Nansen, but how many are tracking like this specific NFT? So that would lead me to believe that maybe these notable, it's not reflexive, right? It's not people on Nansen tracking notable buyers and then the price goes up, because it seems
I don't think so.
like that would be such a small share of volume. So
Agree.
there is still alpha here, I suppose. Then you can still be one of the first.
Oh yeah, and like even if they were, right, you still, one thing I like about Nansen is that our product isn't really giving you it's not spoon feeding you the alpha like in your face. So you still have to do a bit of work to discover this stuff, right? It becomes a game in itself in a way. Like the better you get at using it, the more alpha you can discover. And so I think even if you had tons of people using our product, like some people are going to be better than others at figuring out how to, dig up this alpha. That's the first point. The second point is that crypto markets are unbelievably fragmented. There are just kind of opportunities everywhere, and different people are looking at different things. So if someone's looking at corruptions, like someone else is looking at, I don't know, crypto unicorns or something else, right? So I don't think it's necessarily going to lead everyone down the same path. And this is something we think a lot about when we design the product. We want it to feel like you're really discovering your own pocket of alpha here. You're not just seeing what everyone else is seeing as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And you can almost like in your head, I could do some napkin math, right? So there's 4,000 or so Nansen subscribers. Like if we just look on, this was one day. So maybe half of all Nansen users logged in on that one day, which again, like I don't know what the metrics are, but I'm sure even if you estimate half, you're down to 2,000 people. How many people found this specific collection? I would say 10% is generous, right? So like then you're down to 400 people. And then how many people acted on that? Maybe only 25% there. And so maybe like you're really only like competing for the same insights with about like a few dozen people or a dozen people. But I bet you guys have some really cool analytics internally there and have looked into that a bit.
Yeah. No, I think that logic makes a lot of sense. And you can see here a number of holders, right? Like there's, it doesn't even hit the 4,000 at the moment, right? It's pretty low, 1,475.
Yeah. That is interesting. Yeah, and it's been pretty steady too, which is interesting to see. Like we've seen little volume, and it means, I mean, there's not people undercutting the floor. The holders are happy to hold. Yeah, and we can see that. Well, the collection launched very recently, so everyone is going to be in this bucket pretty much, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to look at breakdown? Maybe we can see some. I think you will see my address there, as I disclosed earlier. I did ape into one of these guys earlier.
Are you an FWD member?
I think. Oh, am I? I don't think so. At least I tried to ape into one. What happens? Oh, these are like the top changes, though. I think if you
maybe were you forced in, or was this?
Yeah, that might. There you go. I can see myself there. My name.
Oh, there you are.
Boom. So that's the full disclosure, real time. And
well, I'm
once
sure you have
again,
multiple addresses like we all do. That's another caveat too.
yeah, yeah, I suppose. I suppose I won't deny that. And this is also like, this is kind of on the NFT side, kind of a fun wallet, right? I did buy another Pudgy Penguin last week actually, because
Oh,
I was
congratulations.
thank you. I was testing an internal feature we have on pricing, like pricing NFTs. So
Oh,
one of our engineers built a machine learning powered pricing model, which we tested on the penguins, and so that allowed us to see what are the most undervalued penguins in the collection according to this model. And so I just literally picked the most underpriced one, and I scooped it just for fun.
oh wow.
But we're going to release this, of course, to users as well. But we want to test it out to make sure that it's good before we release it.
That's interesting. Yeah, that would be cool to see. Have you considered giving away Pudgy penguins to everyone that comes on a stream? I think that would be great collection.
Yeah.
Just
No
kidding.
comment. No comment on that one. Maybe something like that will happen in the near future.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're dangerously close to home there.
I have to buy one myself now. I'm sure they're down just like all NFTs, so I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Are there any comments on collections or even just regular ERC20s people want us to cover specifically?
Yeah, people are asking if we can look at, or Doopy88 is asking if we can look at Tokemak and Keeper.
Oh, I'm happy
Do you
to
know
look.
these projects? Yeah,
I
okay,
do.
cool.
So I should come out and say I have a huge bias against Toke. I just joined the Ondo team full time, and Ondo is working on what I would argue is a better solution, of course. But so take everything I say here with a grain of salt. But I actually am quite a fan of this project. I just would say it's valued very highly now. I think the market cap of TOKE, as they pronounce it, is over 7 billion now. So yeah, do they have anything specific they want to look at, or should we just kind of go through everything at a high level?
Well, first of all, congrats on that new role. That sounds very
Thank you.
interesting. But can you give us a TLDR on, yeah, what do these projects do, both yours
Sure.
and Tokemak?
Yeah, so I'm planning a full video on this, but the short answer is like this move to DeFi 2.0 we've seen. A good driver for that is people realizing that these liquidity mining programs of the past are just not sustainable. So liquidity mining programs are highly inflationary. They're extremely expensive from a token treasury perspective, and they don't attract the right type of user, right? I mean, maybe they do, but if you look at the data, and we're going to put out a report on this pretty soon, if you look at the data, and I think actually Nansen put an article out about this, like half of all addresses leave a yield farm on the first day that they entered it. I think you actually
Yeah,
put that out. Yeah.
that was our research. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So we are going to be quoting that, which is great research.
Great.
But
Please link back.
yes, of course. So yeah, so the short answer is like these yield farming, liquidity mining incentives are not sustainable. So what's the model forward? Like how can we get deep liquidity for a project's native token without that? So TOKE basically their project takes all of the inflationary aspects and puts it on the TOKE token. So if you deposit, so just taking a step back with TOKE, and I have a full video breakdown on how it works, but they basically have collected a ton of ETH and USDC. So they have, I think, hundreds of millions of dollars of ETH and USDC in their contracts, and that's getting a yield in the TOKE token. So they have that ETH and USDC sitting there ready to get paired with a project's native token. So let's just say Frax has been a big partner with TOKE. They have the FXS governance token. They get approved for TOKE. So people can deposit FXS into TOKE, just the single-sided deposit. They're getting a yield in TOKE for doing so, which is pretty good, right? Because they're single staking yields, so you're not taking on any IL risk. And TOKE holders vote to match that FXS liquidity with, let's just say, ETH or USDC, pairs it together and puts it on like a Uniswap or a Sushi swap. And TOKE takes all of the IL risk. They're backing impermanent loss with the TOKE token. And they're also the ones paying for the inflation with regards to like FXS incentives, ETH incentives, etc. So now the native projects don't have to incentivize liquidity. So that's an interesting model. Olympus Pro is another like attempt at solving that, right? Where projects can sell their governance token for liquidity tokens. So they sell their governance token, let's just say Frax again. They sell FXS at a discount, say 5% off to the market price. And you can get that Frax at a discount if you deposit, let's just say the ETH FXS pair. So you're giving them liquidity and you're getting the governance token back at a discount, although you do have to hold for, a few days. There's a lockup. So that's another approach. And yeah, with Ondo, we're taking a different approach to all of that. And I don't want to shill too much, but I have a video on Ondo, and if anyone wants to learn more about it, you can join the Discord or ask questions there. But yeah, this is kind of like the new DeFi 2.0 theme that's happening, is how do we better manage liquidity without these crazy inflationary rewards? So that is exciting for DeFi, but it's also, the downside is like, now we're not going to be able to yield farm at such high rates if these 3 projects and upcoming projects are successful.
It's really, really cool. I mean, it shows the power of permissionless innovation, right?
Yeah.
Like imagine how long it would take to make something like this in like traditional markets. People can just, create like liquidity mining schemes, and then you realize they aren't perfect. Let's try to find solutions to that. And you can have 3 different projects trying to solve this problem. And it's pretty exciting. But I do have a question on how like, what's the reason anyone would hold the token then? Like, given that it sounds like you're kind of just farming and dumping that, or like maybe I'm missing something. And I see that there's a lot of tokens, like it's like linearly increasing here on the exchanges, right? Which maybe reflects that.
So I have a video on TOKE, and I went through the Nansen analytics there of like, just because I do this with my videos, I love to like show the analytics behind the token, what's happening on chain. But yeah, you bring up a great question, right? Like, I would be scared to hold this token at a $7 billion valuation. I'm obviously not telling anyone what to do, but it's highly inflationary right now. Their plan is that like they'll amass so much liquidity and just be such a force in the industry that those costs associated with like the rewards they're paying it now will be worth it to get all of this liquidity locked into the platform. That remains to be seen. The market certainly thinks it's going to happen. I mean, as I mentioned, they're valued over 7 billion fully diluted. So the token has, I think, 7x or 10x since it launched at about a $1 billion valuation. And I mean, the market loves it. So, I mean, I could very well be wrong here. But yeah, to your point, there's a huge, the balances are just going to continue increasing as they pay out inflationary rewards to attract these projects. So everyone wants to get whitelisted on TOKE, because if you do, your token holders can lock their token and get huge rewards for doing so. So it's very beneficial to projects, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So it's almost like they're taking this kind of Uber playbook of like acquiring customers almost, but not necessarily worrying about like profitability and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is something I highlighted in my video. Like they've done an incredible job at, I guess, spreading the word, onboarding new users. You can see unique addresses for the token have it's just gone up only. I think part of the reason is they have really gamified bringing in other projects. So they do this voting style core reactor type thing where a project, let's just say they want a TOKE reactor, they call it, they want their governance token to be depositable in TOKE. So they have to like bribe TOKE holders in exchange for getting a reactor set up. And it's also just onboarding tons of different communities. So like the Frax community was one. I think Alchemex might be another. There's just so many projects that are trying to get these vaults because they're very lucrative for the project and the project's holders. So they've done a great job at that. There's no question about that.
Interesting. Can you click on notable wallets as well? I just want to see if there's anything interesting that pops up there. And has you said Ondo is the name of the other, so ONDO, is that correct? Or so have you guys already dropped the token, or like is that gonna happen?
So there's the vaults, the V1 vaults were live. We let them wind down, and like there's going to be like some big stuff happening next week. There's no token announced yet. There's no airdrop announced. There's no plan for anything like that publicly announced. But like some new vaults, huge like big updates are coming next week. I think we're going to be able to kind of mic drop on everyone, but we'll see. I don't want to oversell anything.
Okay. Fair. Can you scroll down a little bit on this one to see perhaps on either large transactions and maybe some balance, like balance? Yeah, I'm seeing some staking.
Because there's so many pools that it gets hard to filter through all of that. But yeah, top transactions here.
Olympus DAO. Okay, so there's some kind of connection with Olympus DAO as
So
well. So
Olympus, there's an ohm like reactor on Toke, so you can deposit, I believe, just the Olympus token onto Toke, I want to say.
got it.
Yeah.
And
Top
there's a
balances.
massive like treasury address multi-sig. So that's where the rewards somehow are being like distributed from ultimately, I suppose. Look
Yeah.
at that, Ryan Adams.
I don't see. Oh, wow. Let's see what I'm curious what his balance is. 4,155. Let's see.
So maybe
Again,
he's like
also
an
like
advisor. Yeah.
if you're following your favorite person like Alex, myself, Ryan, I'm not saying we're your favorites, but like whoever it is, everyone has multiple addresses. So like
Yeah.
it's very possible. I mean, he has $250 million of Toke. It's possible he has another
quarter
wallet
million.
with it's possible he has another wallet with 3 million with, you know what I mean? So that's I wouldn't take this to the bank and say like just because they have these tokens you should buy them, or like he only has 8,000 uni, maybe he's not that bullish on it. I would kind of take that with a grain of salt because everyone needs like no one has all of their wallets public. I mean, that would just be kind of a thing to do.
I think the way I think about it is you can never conclude that someone does not hold a token from seeing their address because you don't know if they have others. But you can, of course, conclude that if they do hold some tokens, they probably know something about it or are involved in it somehow. So maybe this is a good person to kind of like follow to learn more about this project or see what they say.
Yeah, absolutely. Like everyone tries to. I think a lot of people in the space try to be overly transparent and share what they're holding. Like I'll tell everyone I don't hold any tokens right now. I have a public address, but like obviously I could, I have like 6 addresses. Obviously I could be holding it. There's no real way to know. So if someone's shilling you something, just always assume it's not in your best interest, just to be safe, I would say.
Yeah. So we have one question. We're actually getting kind of close to the end of our time, but
time flies.
That's true. Someone asked about the PSP airdrop. So the ParaSwap airdrop. I don't know if you looked at this, but
I'm one of the folks that's not going to make it because I tried to Sybil attack the airdrop and I did not get any tokens. So.
Oh no. Yeah, I think that was kind of the big news, right? Many people expected to get an airdrop, and in the end, it was quite restrictive on who received one, if I have understood this correctly. So basically, it's ParaSwap, which is a DEX aggregator, and they've launched a token, and they decided to exclude a lot of addresses because they sort of concluded that they were Sybil attacking the airdrop, meaning they created multiple different addresses to receive more tokens. I don't know. I spoke to a few people who expected to get airdrops, but they didn't. So I don't know how exactly they did it. But in Nansen, you can look up the PSP token, which you can Wintermute trading. Interesting. You can see who has received this token. There's probably some airdrop wallet that distributed the tokens, I would imagine.
Here it is.
There we go. And so you could right click. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you could right click on that one and then do top recipients. That's perhaps a good way to see who actually received tokens from that airdrop. And this is going to load.
I should say, like, I'm although I didn't get any PSP tokens, like I'm all for what they did. I think we're all of the mindset that we're like deserving of these crazy airdrops, but at the end of the day, they have no obligation to us if you didn't receive it. And I like totally respect what they did. I mean, you want people that are actually aligned with your project, not just people that did like me that just swapped staked ETH to ETH a few times on a few different wallets,
Yeah. No, yeah. I think in general we've become quite entitled by getting a lot of free money.
You tell people that aren't in crypto about the airdrops you're receiving, like it's just impossible for most people, and I get it, like to comprehend, like why would Ribbon give you $40,000 for doing nothing but depositing 1 ETH into their vault, or like why would anyone give you money for using their project? So it's people don't get it, and we've definitely become spoiled.
Yeah. One last thing to just show here. You can also, if you go back to the token God mode, I think you have it on one of your other tabs. That one, yeah. You can also, if you right click on that same address, the ParaSwap airdrop, and you click wallet profiler for token, you can see some stats on how many people received the airdrop. So
very cool.
Yeah, so if you scroll down a bit here, then on the right, you see 11.8 thousand. That might be cached, by the way. So it looks like it's the spinner indicates that it might be updating that number. Yeah, there we go. So about 12,000 addresses claimed.
I think they
the
whittled
airdrop.
it down to 20,000 from a few million possible addresses. They put a
Okay.
whole Medium post out about it that you can probably dig up pretty quickly, how they filtered people out.
Yeah. So thanks for asking that question, Matt Barlow. Hopefully this was insightful, but you can do the same things in Token God mode. Basically right click on the airdrop and you will be able to see who received how much. Oh, look at that. First wifey farmer
That's
received.
pretty cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I keep seeing that address.
I'm sure they
It's
know what they're doing.
yeah, they definitely do. Cool, but I think we'll wrap it up there today. We're a bit over time already on the calendar here. It was great to have you on once again, Justin. Thanks for coming. What's the best way for people to follow you on social media?
Everyone's already on YouTube now, so you can just type in Justin Bram. Also, Justin Bram on Twitter. Should be pretty easy to find me. And thank you so much for having me. I hope the alpha lived up to everyone else that's come before me. I know we rambled a bit, but hopefully everyone had a good time.
Yeah, always a pleasure to have you here, Justin. So I think that's a wrap. We hope everyone enjoyed the discussion. If you did like this, please give our video a thumbs up, share it with all your friends. And you can also subscribe to our channel. We've, I think, just crossed 5,000 subscribers. So thank you to those of you who have subscribed. And finally, you can turn on notifications so you don't miss any alpha leaks. Thank you very much. And we will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.